Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. And if you're new here, welcome for the first time. And tonight, something a bit different. The If I Owned a Bookstore tag. This could be interesting. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is a If I Owned a Bookstore tag. And this is going to be different, people. This is going to be interesting. And it was created by Bob at Robert G. Reader of Books. And I was tagged by Gareth, Book Songs and Other Magic. And Flossie at the Great Jelly Library. And Bob states in his original video, it's time to indulge in a bit of fantasy, to imagine owning your own bookstore. And this has been a dream of mine forever, people. Okay, I'm responding to the prompts below. In responding to the prompts below, pretend money's not an issue. I like that. That you are independently wealthy, but remember moderation in all things. Not sure about that. Not for this day. Aesthetic considerations are your only criteria. Okay, so let's go in with the prompts now. Prompt number 1, what are the hours of operation? Okay, now my store is going to be slightly different, as you're going to learn later on in the tag, so stay tuned for that. But I'm going to get customers at all sorts of different times of the day, maybe in the evening, and they're going to be different kinds of customers. So I'm going to go with like 7 to 7 initially, maybe 9 to 7 I like to sleep in. Right, who doesn't? But I'm independently wealthy. I can always hire someone to have like shifts with me, so that the store is open for a long time. Yeah, that's my answer to that one. That's all I'm going to say for that. Number 2, is there ambient music? What kind? Yeah, there has to be music. We love our music. My wife recommended like kind of a chilled blues. Love that. I like my classic rock, you know, maybe like acoustic rock. It depends on the crowd as well, and it depends on the time of day, and it depends on how busy the place is. Because if there's not many people there, I might crank up some classic rock, just some rock, and you know, maybe even some, no, not some 80s stuff. It's going to be ambient. It's going to be calm. But if it's really, really full, and people are getting annoyed with the music, you gotta read the crowd, people, and put on something really gentle. I could do that. Maybe some world music. Maybe some chilled African music. That might work. I am South African, so maybe that needs to be done. Yeah. So yeah, it all depends. We're gonna go into that later. Okay, prompt number 3. Is there a coffee bar? Do you serve alcohol? Absolutely a coffee bar. And coffee and tea, as people have been saying. Possibly kind of snacks as well. My wife loves to do like finger foods. You know. She used to do finger foods for sports events and weddings. So she'd be good for that. And yeah, so there'll definitely be that. Alcohol, not during the day, people. No. And even in the evening, no, I'm reluctant. You know, it creates a different vibe that I really want in my bookstore. But one thing I will say is that this particular bookstore, and perhaps, yeah, definitely a coffee bar, other stuff, spills outdoors. You can have maybe an outdoor section. But if there's rain, you know, crank the lever and make sure that people are not getting wet. It's going to be a different kind of bookstore. Okay, and then we've got prompt number 4. Are patrons encouraged to linger? Are there comfortable chairs? What kind of lighting? Are there tables? Are there areas for group gatherings? So let's go one at a time here. Are patrons encouraged to linger? Most definitely, people. Most definitely. I'm going to make it super comfortable. There's going to be comfortable chairs. Now it's going to be like kind of an entrance into the bookstore, and it's going to be like a central hall, right? And it's going to be pretty big. And there's going to be lots of books and seating space, maybe at the back for people that want to read, like comfy chairs. Not chairs like in the aisles, because you want to see the books, as you're going through. And also you need to make sure the books that you can see the titles without like kind of going like this and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's going to be very cozy and very comfy. And yeah, what was the next one? What kind of lighting? In some places, maybe ambient lighting. There's going to be a lot of natural lighting, people. Got to be natural lighting. That's the best kind of lighting. But if you can't read by it, there's going to be areas where people can sit and read. Maybe have lamps there. Kind of private places. And if they don't like the music, soundproof the room. I'm independently wealthy, people. Right? And also, there's going to be these sections. So as you're going, yeah, there's this big place, maybe where there'll be fiction, literary fiction, kind of normal, and then there's going to be sections going out where you're going to have horror. I just came up with this right now. Maybe you go down to a wine cellar and there's a horror section. It's with ambient music, but a little bit like more, yeah. And then you're going to have a fine science fiction, fantasy section. You're going to have romance. Non-fiction, and you're going to have subtle lighting differences for each one, right? And for non-fiction, I'm going to have a very serious African fiction with South African authors, maybe travel guides, maybe other kinds of things, interesting things, maybe some brochures, to guide the visitor to other places around the area. But anyway, yeah, and it spills outdoors, so you can have natural lighting there. Okay, then we've got, are there areas for group gatherings? Yes, outdoors. And if there's rain, you can cover it up. There are ways to do that very quickly in Africa. And yeah, the group gatherings, perhaps author stuff, but I'll focus on South African authors that come through. Maybe do readings and do stuff like that. African authors that are not as well known. And yeah, if there's someone from the UK, America, an international author that wants to come and talk, do a lecture, yeah, it's open to that. And then you've got prompt number 5. Is there live entertainment? Poetry readings, author reading from their current works, lectures. I kind of covered that, yeah. But it'll be particularly in the evening or, like the weekends. And that's another thing. I talked about alcohol. In the day I'm not having any alcohol. But maybe in a private gathering with an author reading, a South African author reading a book, you can get some nice, fine South African wine. Best wine in the world. Okay, stop boasting. Maybe not. But get some South African wine, maybe a glass of champagne for the guests, that kind of thing. Nothing over the top, no open bar, nothing like that. Just something to just create that. Yeah. And maybe in the evening some fairy lights, if it's not raining. Right. Okay, now we're getting to the interesting one. I'm sure you're curious by now. Where is your bookstore located? In the busy heart of a large city? In a neighborhood of a large city? In a suburban strip mall? In a small town? In a rural area? Right. Now the biggest problem with having a bookstore, and people have pointed it out, in a kind of rural area or in the countryside or wherever, kind of away from cities, you're not going to get people to visit your bookstore, your space. And I thought about, as a South African, we're living on the coast now, and I'm thinking about a part of South Africa, very special part of South Africa, called the Garden Route, people. And it's the south coast. It goes along the south coast between Port Elizabeth and Cape Town, a tourist megacity of South Africa. And along this garden route, there is a lot of traffic. And it is very popular with both local and international tourists all year round people. And yeah, as you can see on the map above, there are a lot of little towns, little villages, all the way along the garden route. And I can promise you, from the one side of the map that you see to the other, it's about a 2.5 drive, maybe 3 hours. But that's not where I'm aiming. I'm aiming kind of the middle, towards the right. And so you've got about an hour and a half, and you've got about 10 little villages and small towns, and incredible tourist attractions. And I'd go with Knysna maybe. And yeah, I have my bookstore close enough to Knysna. It's kind of at the back, kind of maybe 5-minute drive. And I might find a piece of forest, kind of indigenous forest, because that's throughout there. It's garden route people. And yeah, I find a space, I'm independently wealthy, and have a bookstore there. But this bookstore is going to be an attraction as well. It's not going to be just the best bookstore. Beautiful bookstore, encouraging reading outdoors, little comfy chairs, maybe even a hammock if I've got some forest. Although it's a national park, I don't know if they'll let me just dump a bookstore in the middle of a national park. But maybe I'll have a little bit of forest, and you could put up some hammocks. You can sit in a hammock, lie in a hammock and read a bit. And you know, it'll be all kind of fenced off. So not just the bookstore, but the property. That's my property, right? And yeah, you've got tourists, and you've got local people that are very laid back, that love reading, and that will come through. Maybe before they go to work, if I'm up early enough, they can pop in for a cup of coffee. The town where I'm at, it's like 5 minutes away, and then go to work. Maybe read a book, buy a book. And then all the tourists that are coming in towards Cape Town, they normally stay for sometimes 2-3 days or longer, and they kind of tend to check out the area quite thoroughly. And maybe word of mouth, people will find me. And even if it's not a huge success, just a little success, I'm still independently wealthy, so it's okay. My house is like next door, very close by. So I'm living in the wild, and I'm living my dream. So yeah. Okay. Then, how does your bookstore look from the outside? Sleek and modern, or dark and brooding? Now you would have thought, like with horror, I love horror, be dark and brooding, but no. I want the bookstore to fit into the surroundings. I want the bookstore to fit into nature. I want it to be like rustic and charming, and yeah, just beautiful touches of like, not quite Lord of the Rings or anything, but like kind of a little bit of a fantasy feel, that you're entering a magical place, a secret place, where there's a lot to. I could add on to other things that I want to do, maybe at a restaurant and stuff, but you know, he said to me, do this within reason, don't show off. Yeah, but anyway. Okay, so what's your speciality? Used books, new and used, only fiction, only non-fiction, fiction and non-fiction? Does your bookstore specialize in a particular genre? No. It's a little bit of everything. Although I tend to prefer, if I'm going to have a store like that with lots of tourists coming in, I don't want like a whole lot of new stuff. I want it to be used and affordable, but in really good condition. And obviously an African section that tourists will be drawn to, right? Yeah? And yeah, so a little bit of everything. Even a non-fiction section. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Memorabilia maybe, African memorabilia and stuff like that. Okay? And then, next one, nearly there people. What's the name of your bookstore? And I thought maybe Turning Pages, but I'm sure you can do better. You tell me, after you've heard this now, what is the best name for the bookstore? Let me know. Okay everyone, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. Bit of a pipe dream maybe. I need to be wealthy, but yeah. And then problem number 10 is tag some friends. And I'm going to do that in the spaces below. I'll add them to the description box. But yeah, thank you so much for this tag. This was awesome. And it's kind of very different, very special. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, let me know what you think of my bookstore. Think I'll be a success or a failure? Yeah, at the end of the day, be at peace with books and nature. Two of my favorite things in the world. My two favorite things in the world. And my life. So, take care of yourselves, everyone. Keep those pages turning. And cheers.